Hello, everyone. Today we're talking about comparing and contrasting. You will be able to identify things that are the same and different. What does it mean to compare and contrast? To compare something, we're finding things that are similar or the same about it. When you hear that word compare, I want you to think about a pair of socks. Those are two things that are the same. Now let's practice. Look at this anchor chart over here. We see words that we use to compare things and words we use to contrast things. So when we contrast something, we're finding things that are different about it. Let's look at these words for compare. Alike, both, same, similar, like, in common, also, similarly, in comparison to, or as well as. All of these are words or phrases that we can use to compare two items, to find the things that are the same. If I want to find the things that are different, I would contrast two items. Words like different, unlike, difference, however, although, in contrast to, or but. These tell me that things are different. All right, so today I wonder if you've noticed by now that we have pizza and spaghetti on our screen. It kind of makes me hungry even though we just ate lunch. Now we are going to practice comparing and contrasting spaghetti and pizza. And we're going to start with things that are the same. I think it's easiest to compare two items that are similar. So we know that pizza and spaghetti are both similar, but they are different. So we're going to start by listing the things that are the same. We're going to compare them. They both have tomato sauce. They both have cheese. They often have meat on top, like a pepperoni or beef or maybe some sausage. They both have a carb on the bottom, so like the bread and the noodles for the base, that's the same. Now let's talk about what's different. Pizza by itself has many topping options. You could do vegetables or lots of different meat. Some people do pineapple or peppers, and we put sauce on it. Let's see what else. It has a crust. Although spaghetti does have a starch on the bottom, it has the noodles. It's different. Pizza by itself has a crust. We can cut pizza into slices. It would be pretty difficult to put spaghetti into slices. And you would use your hands to eat it. Now let's talk about spaghetti. It has noodles for a base. You do not bake it. You cannot cut it into slices. You cook it in a pot. So when we look at all of this, we can see that in the middle here, this is what we call a Venn diagram. And oftentimes it's shaped like two circles that overlap. But when we're typing into things, I felt like it was easier to use rectangles. So in the middle here, I have the things that are the same. And then on this side, I list all the things that are just for pizza and all the things that are just for spaghetti. You might have noticed that when I was describing spaghetti, I said you do not bake it. The only reason that I said that was because I was contrasting it to pizza. I was finding something that was different. Normally, if I was describing spaghetti, I wouldn't talk about what I don't do. I would talk about what I do. So down here, I said cooked in a pot. Now, here are some sentence frames for comparing and contrasting. Again, we have some of those words. I want you to read these with me. Similar, similarity, same, both, also, alike, as well as, and in common. Then we can use some of these sentence frames. So if we say that we read two books that are similar, we want to compare and contrast books. I could say in both texts, blank, this happened. Or in both texts, the characters are blah, 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 especially when we have a series, right? If we think about Dogman or Captain Underpants, in every single book, the characters, those main characters, are the same. So that would be something that we could compare. One similarity between blank and blank is, and you would tell me, one thing both texts have in common is, so when we're answering questions about these books, we want to make sure that we are using full sentences. And here are some of the sentence frames that we can use. I promise I will give you access to these whenever we ask you to type. That way you have them. They're super useful. And then I look at this side where it's talking about contrasting. We find what's different, the difference, other, unlike. However, on the other hand, let's talk about spaghetti and pizza again. I could say pizza has a crust on the bottom. However, spaghetti has noodles on the bottom. So we want to make sure that we're using full sentences, and so then we can use these sentence frames. That's all for today. Thank you so much for listening about comparing and contrasting. Remember that when we're comparing, we find two things that are the same. And when we're contrasting, we find things that are different. Tomorrow, we're going to practice this by comparing two books. Have a great day.